What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue. This week's episode is on the history of the Constellar archetype. Now, Constellars are kind of interesting because even though they were first introduced into the TCG in sets like Galactic Overlord and Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, even also in the most recent sets, like King's Court and Duel Saga, they were introduced in the anime, in the Arc 5 anime by Dipper Orion. If you guys remember him from Arc 5, he was the one that had summoned, he had used Constellar Ptolemy M7 and also Pleiades as well in the anime. So it's kind of an interesting archetype, actually, in my opinion. What is up my chair? My chair is being stupid. Anyway, let's get straight into the story. If you guys enjoyed this and you guys want to see more of these types of videos, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and be sure to check out to check out the previous episodes where I had talked about the other archetypes, like Ice Barrier and Mist Valley, where they're all connected together, truth be told. I was going to do one on the Argenics archetype, but there was, nothing to talk about with that one, so. But that being said, let's get straight into it. So, Constellar, which is known as sacred in the OCG, is an archetype based that is made up of light monsters with multiple different types of monsters, which are, which you have Beast Warrior, Fairy, Machine, and even also Warrior. They were introduced in Duel Terminal Sacred Star Knights, and as I had mentioned before, they were used by Dipper Orion in the Arc 5 anime. Now their team symbol is a golden 8-pointed star with a small circle behind it. In fact, I might be able to pull it up online. Give me a second, guys. Constellar symbol. I believe I have this one right. Yep, I actually have it right. So here's the crest, basically. That's basically the crest. And let's see, moving on. And the Xyz monsters of the archetype, however, they have a much more larger sun-like circle encasing the team symbol, if you will. This archetype is obviously, as if you didn't notice it, Constellar. They're based on constellations, and each non-Xyz monster has a symbol from the astrological zodiac in their respective backgrounds, which represent which constellation they're from. So there are I'll be talking about that later on in the video, but the story behind it is kind of interesting because this ties into the Lswarm virus during in the Duel Terminal World. So the Lswarm virus had spread throughout the entire Duel Terminal World, and which obviously, because of the virus, the world was going to end because of their influence. But those who remained had prayed to what was known as the Legend of the Messiahs, that were passed down by the elders of each tribe. But the big question was this: are these were these Constellars self-proclaimed knights, or the herald of the stars? That was the big question. And we found out the answer, because at the end of the final battle, the Constellars and the remaining tribes were outnumbered by the Lswarm army, who had the 3 dragons of the ice barrier, and also Gishki Zelgigas, I believe was the name. The revived leader of the steel swarms. And in order for the Constellars to even the odds, the Geminis had to fuse together with had fused together to bring out Gemini Master Diamond, and the Constellars had to combine their power into a single being known as Constellar Ptolemy M7. The chaos was all over the place, and it had stirred out a powerful wind that obviously summoned Sophia, goddess of rebirth, the creator of the Duel Terminal World. In order to create Gemini Seraphini, Gemini Lazuli, and Constellar Virgo had to fuse together in order to create Seraphini, and eventually becoming Constellar Sombre after regressing back into Lazuli, and along with Evil Swarm Karakion, they ended up defeating Sophia, and they ended the cycle, which is sad. Now, as far as the main deck, as I said before, each non-Xyz Constellar monster is named after a constellation in the sky, and they're basically based off of zodiac signs that we use to predict, obviously to predict our birthday. So when you talk about Aries, you talk about you talk about the Sheraton Aldebaran, I believe. Cancer would be Accubent, I believe is the name. Leo would be Leonis, basically. So you have so many different zodiac signs. You have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpius, Sagittarius, Capricornus, or Capricorn, basically. Aquarius, Pisces, and also another one called Ophiuchus. I don't know how to pronounce that. I probably just butchered it. But there are so many different ones, and so many different constellations, and if you will, it's just crazy. Now, as far as the extra deck goes, there's Hades. There's Hyades, there's Omega, there's Pleiades, there's also, there's Priceep, which is basically a beehive cluster, and then Winter Hexagon, which is basically Stellar Night Diamond, and also Ptolemy M7, which, in short, the M7 is short for Messiah. For Messiah, I believe 7, which is insane, which is pretty cool. The playing style of this archetype is kind of unique, because, as I mentioned before, it's mostly focused on Xyz summoning, swarming the board with a bunch of Xyz monsters, and most of the non-Xyz Constellar monsters have effects, so as far as we know, they have effects that trigger on summon and focus on both swarming and toolboxing. And by toolboxing, just being able to get your resources out and just be able to help you gain regain card advantage, if you will. Which is actually pretty cool. Or I guess deck thinning. Help you to thin out your deck a bit. Have field present. Have field presence. And whatnot. Just to give you guys an example, basically. Hang on, guys. Come on. Thank you. So continuing on. The Constellar Xyz monsters they all require light monsters to be Xyz summoned, with the exception of Ptolemy M7, Aldebaran, and Algadi, and Virgo. I take that back. Except for Ptolemy M7. Aldebaran, Algadi, and Virgo, when normal summoned, they can special summon other Constellar monsters with the same level as those three. And then with Sheraton and with also how do I pronounce that? Zubin Shmali, I believe is the name. I probably just butchered it. They can both search out even more Constellar monsters from the deck to the hand when they're summoned to the field, which is awesome, because they're basically Stratos. They're basically the Stratos of the deck. The weakness of the archetype is that their monsters, except the Xyz, focus heavily on the archetype itself. So obviously, if you guys are playing, if you guys play Constellars, it's best to not add a whole lot of Constellar monsters. The only non-Constellar monsters that are recommended for this deck would be Honest, which is obviously a staple in light-based decks. Cyber Dragon for an easy special summon Beat Stick, which also can help you lure out traps which can lure out or I guess bait your opponent to activate traps in like Solemn Judgment, Nightmare Wheel if they have them. Ghost Ship for obviously for the rank 5 plays. Even also card D, which is really cool. Gain some extra draw power off of it. Another weakness with this deck is the fact that traps can severely cripple the deck. Although this does apply to a lot of decks in today's meta, especially to Constellars, because it's so hard for Constellars to make a comeback since they don't have enough. Since they don't have a whole lot of support, and we didn't get a whole lot of support, over time. So if you were to play Constellars, you have to have at least 2 copies of Royal Decree. Even 3 would be perfect. So yeah. But aside from that, the potential is great. They do have the potential in maintaining their toolbox strategy, but they would need to keep their hands always with a good amount of cards, which would help Tragoedia if you were running that card. because of its high attack, basically. Excuse me. And it can also help manipulate levels for your non-Constellar Xyz, with the exception of Ptolemy M7, and not to mention it helps control your opponent's monsters as well with this archetype that has various levels, obviously. And this archetype can easily bring out powerful rank 3 to rank 5 Xyz monsters extremely fast. Even on first turn, but it all depends on your hand. So to give you guys a idea, to give you some combo ideas, you can use Pollux or Algedy in combination with Constellar Chaos, which can then be used to Xyz summon into Pleiades, and also using Fire Formation Tenki to search out for Chaos may prove useful depending on your hand. Constellar Leonis and Sheraton can also be used to bring you 2 more. Can bring you a +2 by allowing a search for another Constellar as well, and Xyz into a rank 3 monster, into several famous rank 3 monsters, which could be Wind Up Zemines, number 17 Leviathan Dragon, or their own monster, which is Constellar Hyades, as well. Which both can switch out monsters with high attack into defense position, and those in particular can be rank 3 fodder for the what's known as the Chaos Xyz change, if you will. Basically, what that means is you rank up, a rank 5 or rank, if you rank up a rank 4, you go up into a rank 5, or you can go into a rank 6, depending on the monster itself. So, for instance, if you go into Pleiades, which is rank 5, you can rank it up into Ptolemy M7, which is rank 6. And with the release of Constellar Star Cradle, Constellars now have access to a powerful card that retrieves 2 Constellars in your graveyard for even more summons. So there are several decks that were actually pretty viable back then. Actually, there's Constellar God, which uses the additions of the Egyptian gods. Crazy enough. And because that the Constellars are able to do multiple summons, it's so easy to summon out the 3 Egyptian gods right off the bat. So to give you guys an idea of the cards that they can use in that type of deck, obviously Algedy, Chaos, Leonis, Pollux, Saya, Sombre, Cyber Dragon, Ghost Ship, Honest, Photon Thrasher, Thunder King Ryu, Brotherhood of the Firefist Bear would be another pretty good one. For the extra that you can use Exciton Knight, Terrace, Keeper of Boundaries, Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, Guided Dragon, the Thunder Charger, number 61 Volgasaurus, just to give you guys a few ideas. There were also several other decks as well that were pretty good back in the day. This first one in particular is Constellar Zexal, or rather Zexal Weapon Constellar, I believe was the right name. So with this one, it would use cards like Tornado Bringer, Lightning Blade, Ultimate Shield, Unicorn Spear, Phoenix Bow, 3 Chaos, two Sunbray, 3 Polex, 1 Cyber Dragon, 3 Goblin Bird, Kage Tokage, Tosuke Knight, you know, a lot of really good ones. And then also for the extra deck, Utopia Ray, so many incredible cards for a deck like that. There was also another version of it would only just use Unicorn Spear, Lightning Blade, Card D, just to name a few. So Constellars did pretty well back in the day. I think they got a couple tops. Let me look online really quickly. Let's see. Let us see. I think it had gotten top 32. Yeah. There were several. Yeah, so there was a deck back in 2013. At YCS Toronto, where it was a Constellar where the player had where a player named Leo Chan had gotten top 32 playing Constellars back in 2013, September 2nd, 2013. Wow, it's been years. His deck. Let's see. Let's actually take a look at. Here we are. Let's actually take a look at the deck that he played. Big shout out, by the way. No copyrights here, of course. So this is Leo Chan's YCS Toronto 2013 top 32 Constellar deck, which here's the deck. He ran one Brotherhood of the Firefist Bear, one Constellar Algedy, I believe is the name. 3 Cows, 3 Pollux, 2 Sheraton, 3 Sombre, 2 Effect Veiler, 1 Honest, and 2 Maxi. Yeah, Maxi was actually, I think, at 2 back then. For the spells, he had 1 Book of Moon, 1 Dark Hole, 2 Tenki, 2 Forbidden Lance, 3 MST, 2 Pot of Duality, and 1 Reinforcement. The army was still at 1 back then, crazy enough. 1 Bottomless Trap Hole, 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device, 2 Dimensional Prison, 2 Phoenix Chain, 2 Mirror Force, 1 Solemn Warning, and a Torrential Tribute. For the extra deck, he had Constellar Omega, Constellar Ple. He had 1 Omega, 2 Pleiades, 1 Percept, I believe, 1 Ptolemy M7, 1 Evil Swarm Ouroboros, 1 Gaga Cowboy, 1 Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger, 1 Maestro, the Symphony Djinn. He had one Utopia, 1 number 50 Black Ship of Corn, 1 number 61 Volcasaurus, Shark Fortress, Star Leash Paladynamo, and Tyrus Keeper of Boundaries. For the side deck, he had 2 DD Crow, 1 Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, obviously for graveyard removal, 1 Thunder King Ryu. For the spells, he had Dimensional Fissure, 2 System Down, and 1 Twister. And for the traps, he had 2 Goes a Match, 2 Overworked, 2 Shadow Imprisonment Mirror, and 1 Soul Drain. So overall, as far as the price of the deck itself, pretty cheap actually, less than $100 actually, which is kind of crazy because the main deck was only $55.72, probably because of the fact that a lot of the because of the fact that Maxi was probably, I think, what, a $15 card at that time. Honest was another 20. And then the Constellars were probably less than like $2 there, if I remember right. The extra deck was $20. Side deck was $20. So yeah, that sounds about right. But it's crazy how a deck like that could get a top in 2013, and nowadays you don't even see Constellars get you don't see them anymore. You don't see Constellars anymore. It's just sad, honestly. But the weakness of the whole archetype itself, because that you would because that the deck is all light monsters. Cards like DNA Transplant and Scroll of Bewitchment can prevent the summoning of Hyades, Pleiades, and even Omega, as those monsters require light monsters to exceed summon, and because that Constellars rely heavily on the monster effects, skill drain, Angel 7. Could just shut down the deck easily, and also cards like allies, and also cards like the Ally of Justice card and the Quakimerus can also just shut down. Can also shut down the deck because they're all anti-light support. Anti-light archetypes, if you will. Thunder King Ryu, Heroic Champion Gondiva can pretty much just help end the game. Can just basically help you win the game against the Constellars as well. And because that most of the Constellar effects are centered towards Exceed summoning, they're very vulnerable. They are very vulnerable and dependent on combos. So if they can't perform Exceed summons, they're at a massive disadvantage. So a pretty good amount of spells and traps to protect them is very, very recommended. But do I see this archetype getting more support? Yes, this archetype needs new support because as I said before, we end up getting the reprints of Ptolemy M7, of cards like Ptolemy M7 in Keen's Court, and as far as like the main sets go, we didn't get any support for them until Blazing Vortex, which was last year, if I remember correctly. What was it, last year? Or actually, it was actually earlier this year. Back in February, we got what was the card that we got for them? Let's see. Let me take a look. Yeah, okay, I thought so. So we got Constellar, Caduceus, and I think that was it. That was the only thing. Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, pretty much. We ended up getting we got new Fable support. We ended up getting Dragoon Knight support. What else? I think that was just it. As far as like as far as the dual terminal archetypes go. Yeah, that was the only card that we got support for. Yeah, that was it. That was pretty much it. Which is pretty sad, honestly. But yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Do I believe that this archetype needs new support? Yeah, absolutely. It needs more support, and the more support it gets, I feel like the more meta this archetype will become. So I would say give this archetype a couple new spells, maybe a new trap. Definitely give them at least 3 new Xyz monsters, and then maybe this archetype will become even more meta than it was back in 2013. Like, it's crazy how that was like just a few years ago, and Team Samurai X1, big shout out, of course. Actually posted the video of him of Leo actually talking about the deck. I mean, if you look at the deck itself, it's insane. It's insane how a deck like this could be less than $100. Like, or rather, back then it might have. I think back then it was pretty expensive. But when you think about it now, when you think about it now, when you think about it now, I would estimate that this would have been well over like $1,000 back then, because if you look at the Constellars, they were all above $10. Almost every single Constellar was above $10, including Ptolemy M7, which was like a $20 card. Pleiades was a $15 card. Omega was $12, was $12.50. Price Save was a $35 card. It's insane. And the most expensive card from the whole deck back then was Utopia, which was close to $200. So I would estimate, and actually Rhoda back then, Rhoda was like $240, which is crazy. So I would say this archetype does need new support, in my honest opinion. But guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Question of the day: what are you guys' thoughts on the Constellars, and do you think the Constellars could be meta in today's Yu-Gi-Oh? Let me know in the comments below. And that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue, which gets posted every Friday, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys do not miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. If you guys have family you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my address will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.